We've just heard news that the Biden administration is considering the lifting of some sanctions on Venezuela in return for the regime re-entering negotiations with the opposition. The changes for now are relatively modest and relate to the interactions that Chevron can have with official authorities there in the energy sector. It's baby steps toward the lifting of sanctions, I think, to give the government a chance to show that in response, it will really re-engage on negotiations with the opposition. The White House says it's been coordinating closely with Guaido, and I suspect that is the case. I think that relationship is pretty critical, both because of domestic politics and the popularity of Guaido with important constituencies within the United States, but also because he remains the only kind of democratic actor that the United States can point to in promoting a democratic transition in Venezuela. The sanctions that the United States imposes on Venezuela are not simply meant to punish the regime and certainly not to punish the Venezuelan people. They're meant to give leverage to the United States and the Venezuelan opposition to promote a dialogue that could bring back democracy to that country. And so if this works, it would be a series of concessions from the United States and a response from the Venezuelan regime with concessions on its side to have serious negotiations and eventually to improve human rights conditions and allow some kind of competitive politics to return to the country. We'll see how much political capital the Biden administration is willing to invest in a new approach to Venezuela policy. The reaction will continue to be negative, both from Republicans and Democrats who follow these issues. And so with the midterms approaching the United States, it's not clear just how far the White House will go in easing sanctions on Venezuela. Partly, however, it's going to depend on what response you get from the regime in Venezuela. Is it really willing to seriously engage with the opposition and make meaningful concessions to the opposition, which would include free and fair elections, an independent judiciary, a reduction in human rights abuses, and the permission for the opposition to function normally in the country, which we haven't seen in a decade?